Once upon a time, the infamous rover Reynardo plundered the floating isles. Then his mother called him to her deathbed. "Swear to me that you won't die on the gallows," she rasped. Reluctantly, he swore. And he whiled away his days at home with music, cards, and wine. But the Emperor had changed. He'd been good once, a shy, almost humble toad. He'd built universities. But then people started whispering about mass graves in the woods, midnight rituals, victims screaming. The Imperial Ravens would round up entire was looking down, watching his city burn. "Sorry, kid," Reynardo told the kid. "Look, if we give them the book, they'll leave you alone." "My mother died for this book!" "I promised her I'd protect you." Oh, damn it. The kid had run off. With the book, of course. So Reynardo had to run after him. The two ravens were staring at the kid like he was their dinner, which probably was what was in their tiny brains. "Hey," Reynardo said. They cocked their heads at him. "Pick on someone as ugly as you." Wait, that didn't come out right.
For the Emperor!
The ravens cawed and rushed at him. A dropship flew overhead. He hoped they hadn't noticed him. The kid. Oh, right. The Gate of Heroes. Someone's idea of a joke, making the skyship docks a gated community. You needed a hero's sword to open it. And the kid was on the other side of the gate. Who let ore and wind essence? Perfect. A hero's sword. QED. This is what he got for settling down and finding people to care about. The kid's mum had been a swell cook, and she'd laughed at Reynardo's jokes, even when he didn't know he'd made one. And then the ravens had come to burn her. And she'd made him promise to protect the kid. But she never told him where the book was. He came up to a ledge. It was too far to jump. There'd been a bridge here before, hadn't there? And there was Peter, giggling at him. "How'd you get across?" he asked the kid. "Where'd you find a hook?" "I hopped," said the kid. Wise-ass kid. "Hey, look out behind you!" "Cute," said Reynardo. Ah, ravens. It was time to talk some sense into the kid. He took his way across the ledge and chased the kid down. Thing was, he hadn't used his hook since he'd retired. How had he done it? Maybe if he meditated at that altar there, he'd remember his old skills. It was starting to come back to him. Something you never completely forgot. like how to freeze time when attacking. The more he fought, the more he'd probably... And there was the Farfarer. She was the fastest ship he'd ever known. She could do the... The book was unburned. Next to it were the buckles from the kid's shoes, and a kid-sized pile of ashes. Damn it, why hadn't he lied and told the kid he'd take the book to the rebels? The kid would be alive now. Really pissed off and betrayed, but alive. Oh, damn it. Reynardo picked up. He couldn't let the Empire have it now. He was going to have to get it out of there. What was the big deal about this book, anyway? Maybe he should open it and find out. All that had been years ago. How many? The war was a blur. And now 3 ravens scouched. The rebellion was out of time. Unless Reynardo could bring a game changer. Maybe he could. Reynardo had found out where he could find the pieces of the Sky Ripper. The legendary weapon that had exiled the lost gods. Surely a legendary weapon could win the final battle. On the other hand, his old friend Pino had sent Reynardo a desperate message saying he had a brilliant scheme to save the rebellion. If Reynardo could only rescue him. Reynardo dived the Farfarer towards the abyss. As he felt the heat of the jet stream, the Raven ships peeled off, not stable enough to follow him down there. Now it was time to choose. Lapino?
Oh wait, I could do Zenobia's Truth
Sky
first.
Ripper.
Yeah, I'll just swap those. Do Zenobia's Truth and... Yeah. I'll do Zenobia's Truth first.
As he set foot on the island, Reynardo could not help but feel a tinge of guilt.
So my
He'd left
split's
Lapino
certainly
behind.
messed up.
He hoped the Mad Rabbit had somehow escaped the ravens. He hoped they hadn't eaten him. And if they had, he hoped they hadn't eaten him alive. Why had he chosen the Sky Ripper? Reynardo never made plans that required constant vigilance. He was a hero. He
It
didn't
really doesn't
think too
matter.
much. He just went with his gut and hoped it all worked out.
Or I'll just take
The
my
Sky
splits.
Ripper was a long shot. He'd have to devote himself to it. No side journeys, no rescuing old friends. That was against his nature. Could he stick with it? Didn't your mother... The people who had built this castle, did they even know what monstrous weapon lay hidden within their walls? The Sky Ripper could destroy anything it touched, or so the legend said. As the Transcendent Emperor had fought the lost gods, thousands of thousands had died. But Reynardo had been through wars. The only merciful war was a short one. Reynardo felt ready to take on new powers.
Please move. Okay, it was this slow. Like a couple seconds.
Puzzle. Reynardo loved puzzles. Except when he couldn't figure them out. On the other hand, if there was a puzzle, it was probably meant to keep people away from something good. It was starting to come back to him. Something you never completely forgot. Like how to freeze time when attacked. There it was. Anyway, how was it part of a weapon at all? He'd have to ask a scientist. But first, he'd get the second piece.
What?
Sky Ripper had a heart. a core that had come to rest on the next island. Well, there was another island he could reach.
It's this one.
Zenobia
I
had
have
just
no idea what that
invaded
word
it with her
is.
father's Raven battalions. She must be encamped there still. But fighting Zenobia now, that made no sense at all.
The High Cash Master.
He'd already sacrificed one friend to get this armature.
Was he like
was
talking
it?
about the little like
He didn't need to hurry to
jokes
face
it
her.
slips in like
She would find him.
every now and then? Cause like this game has a lot of jokes in it and like a lot of references.
The truth is, though, he wanted to see her, wasn't it? It had been a dozen years since Swordfu School. He'd followed every rumor about her, every scrap of news.
Do I need help?
Not that he still loved her. After all, she was his enemy. No, it was solely because know your enemy. But it would be great to see her. Even if they faced off across sword points, as they'd done so many times at school. The world was a less interesting place without her. And this is why heroes are called dashing, Renato thought. See? Dashing? Renato wasn't entirely sure how he was going to capture Zenobia. She'd be expecting him. And he didn't have Lapino to cook up a clever plan. Why was it again that he hadn't got the core?
Really? It could have changed the thing.
Renato slinked through Zenobia's ship, making no sound at all. Where were her guards? Finally,
That makes no sense. It's a trap.
shouted the Emperor.
I'll meet you at the outpost, and I'll bring my interrogators.
If Renato came face to face with the Emperor, maybe he could assassinate him. But maybe it would be smarter and safer to turn Zenobia against her father.
I could alternatively do Lapino's Truth first now. Hmm.
What kind?
I really should just cutscene walk there.
Who needed bridges anyway? Renato wondered if he could learn to cook this way. Probably not. She caught up with him.
That would have been bad. I thought it was the other teleport. There are two teleports in this map. This one and another one. I believe it's in this map as well.
The Emperor had learned enough secrets from Renato to crush
Either
the
way,
rebellion.
it doesn't
It
bleed
would be a
that
fair
cutscene.
trade if the scientist could convince Zenobia to change sides. These platforms were great. Renato wanted one for his house. hated warlocks. The way they stayed back and lobbed pain and death from a distance. Cowards. Really dangerous, effective cowards. The observatory was a burning hulk. Dead scientists and black feathers everywhere. The Ravens had burned the I don't know. Let's go to the fleet and ask him. Yes. I'll meet you on the mountains. There's something I have to get first. But could he afford to meet her in the mountains? He'd given the Empire the location of the secret rebel base. They would need rescuing. So he had given the Sky River's core to the Empire. He felt stupid about that. He hoped the Emperor didn't bring the Sky Ripper against the base.
I should have gone that hill.
There was nothing he could do to fight a legendary weapon. Renato hated
I can survive
when he
one
up.
hit.
One of these days, he would learn to look before he pounced. But today, is not that day. He intoned for his own amusement.
I can't go risk going to God's because that's the one I want to help for.
The Raven was slumped in a pile of its own feathers, like a tree in November.
You can't stop us. The Emperor has a weapon no warrior can defend against.
What happened to you? Renato asked. But the Raven chose that moment to go to the great nest in the sky. So they'd made the cord into a weapon. That wasn't good. Huh? A lever? That was new. Most people still use doorknobs. Long stairs. So he was close to the rebel base. Nothing was on fire. So far, so good. Coming back to him. He wondered what he'd remember next. Renato had never slain so many ravens. The secret base was going to stink of burnt feathers for months. The council speaker was confused.
Our spies say Zenobia has gone berserk. She attacked and destroyed an entire squadron of dropships.
This was amazing good news. He'd shown her the Emperor's evil. Now she'd gone over to the rebel side. Now is our moment. Attack! Renato exulted. They could win this thing. Zenobia commanded half the fleet. Who would follow the mad Emperor when they could follow his heir, who was wise and smart and a brilliant sorceress besides? But what about the core? What evil could the Emperor wreak with that? As he closed in on the Imperial fleet, Renato liked his odds.
Guess I'll just do any 24.
Oh, how had he gotten into this mess? He'd never set out to be a hero. When he was a kid, he'd wanted to be a great cat burglar. Until his mother had explained about foxes and cats. And then the Emperor had gone mad and started sacrificing kittens to the lost gods. There were a lot of dead ravens here. Who had slain them? This thing really needed a roof.
One more battle, I get another level up. I think I'll be fine.
There were raven bodies everywhere. The precision of the wounds. Renato recognized her
Just
style.
can't take any more
It
damage.
appeared that she was single-handedly turning the tide to the battle. Good. That left the Emperor with only the core.
I still
Against
can't
him,
take any damage.
all the rebels, his
Only got one
daughter,
drop.
and her ravens. He wished he was fighting alongside her. But they'd meet up soon enough. Can't we just agree to disagree? Said Renato. No? Oh, just have a dash, thought Renato.
Got him.
Zenobia was cutting down the Emperor's bodyguard like they were mushrooms. The Emperor was frantically readying some arcane instrument. Thrumming sphere. Skyripper's core. Zenobia! Renato shouted. But he had no idea what else to say. Revenge! She shouted as she cut the last bodyguard down. A ray lanced out of the sphere. Everything around her burst into flames, but her sword seemed only to absorb it. She walked towards Isengrim III like she was walking against a river. Nothing could stop her. They were going to win. Zenobia stabbed the Emperor dead and flicked the moaning apparatus off. She was laughing hysterically. Or weeping, maybe. They had won. He ran to her. I killed my own father. She wept, and he held her. He told her he loved her. He would pull her back from the brink of madness. But the core thrummed louder and louder. At that moment, Renato understood that the core was going to explode catastrophically. And that this could have been victory. The Emperor and his daughter dead, the fleet destroyed. He'd almost been a hero. A legendary one, maybe. If only he and the rebel fleet hadn't been here. Okay, that was weird. He could have sworn he just died. Instead, he was on the far... The clouds parted over the Isles of Boreas. It was time to choose. The rebellion was in trouble. Ravens were scouting for the secret rebel base. They needed a game changer. Pieces of the Skyripper had surfaced. Renato knew that using it could go catastrophically wrong. But he was sure he could figure out how to use it safely. Also, a temple had risen out of empty desert. The Emperor had brought the Sky Ripper pieces up out of ancient burial by his obscene rituals. Could this be where the Iblis stone was hidden? Someone better get it before he does, thought Reynardo. On the other hand, his old friend Lapino needed rescuing. Lapino was no game changer, but could Reynardo really leave an old friend to the Ravens?
I was pressing the wrong button to skip the cutscene. That's funny.
As he set foot on the island, Reynardo could not help but feel a tinge of guilt. He'd left Lapino behind. He hoped the Mad Rabbit had somehow escaped the Ravens. He hoped they hadn't eaten him. If they had, he hoped they hadn't eaten him alive. Why had he chosen the Sky Ripper? Reynardo never made plans that required constant vigilance. He was a hero. He didn't think too much. He just went with his gut and hoped it all worked out. The Sky Ripper was a long shot. The people who had built this castle, did they even know what monstrous weapon lay hidden within their walls? The Sky Ripper could destroy anything it touched, or so the legend said. As the Transcendent Emperor had fought the lost gods, thousands of thousands had died. Reynardo had been through war. The only merciful war was a short one. Reynardo felt a little better.
There's no reason to get the hook, at least not yet.
Sorry, mustache, thought Reynardo.
All like animations.
See? That wasn't so hard. There it was. Sky Ripper's armature.
Yeah, I had a really good start to this level, and I just like
How is it part of
canceled
a
every
weapon
single
at
animation in
all?
the fights. Oh,
He'd have to ask a scientist. But first, he'd get the second piece. Sky Ripper had a heart, a core that had come to rest on the next island. Well, there was another island he could reach. Zenobia had just invaded it with her father's Raven battalions. She must be encamped there still. But fighting Zenobia now, that made no sense at all. He'd already sacrificed one friend to get this armature, was it? He didn't need to hurry to face her. She would find him. The truth is, though, he wanted to see her, wasn't it? It had been a dozen years since Swordfu School. He'd followed every rumor about her, every scrap of news. Not that he still loved her. After all, she was his enemy. No, it was solely because know your enemy. But it would be great to see her, even if they faced off across sword points as they'd done so many times at school. The world was a less interesting place without her. Come over here.
one more. He's Also a chance to drop health, but it's very rare.
He couldn't do worse with Zenobia than he'd done with the core, could he? Renado's blood was up.
He just needed to smash something.
Renato wasn't entirely sure how he was going to capture Zenobia. She'd be expecting him. And he didn't have Lapino to cook up a clever plan. Why was it again that he hadn't got the core? Maybe because the result tended to be disastrous. These streets were familiar. His sword from school was closed now, but he had been down that street 1,000 times. He knew that pub. He knew that alley. He knew the alley behind it much too well. Renato slinked through Zenobia's ship, making no sound at all.
I really shouldn't go
Where were
for...
her guards? Finally,
That makes no sense.
Because what am I gonna get out of that chest?
It's a trap.
Shield breaker?
Shouted
Like,
the
that's
Emperor.
the best thing you can get from it.
I'll
Or
meet you at
physical
the
resistance.
outpost, and I'll bring my interrogators.
if Renato came face
But,
to
like,
face
there's
with the
nothing
Emperor,
good from that
maybe he
chest.
could assassinate him. But maybe it would be smarter and safer to
Maybe
turn
you should just, like,
Zenobia
go
against
through
her
that
father.
normally, just forget about the chest.
What kind? He wasn't that good. Yet.
Oh, I think I, like, lost time here. I like that do the cutscene walking. Then I messed up the skip or something. All that health drops.
She
I'm not
caught
gonna
up.
get any of them. I should have really cut. I should have like actually cutscene walk during the shit caught up to him and just go on this platform.
The Emperor had learned enough secrets from Renato to crush the rebellion. It would be a fair trade if the scientists could convince Zenobia to change sides. What were these poles exactly? Boy, some people were just liable to explode if you upset them.
I hate that fight so much. You have like no
Renato
room to
wondered
deal with
what
those
would happen
guys.
if he jumped. Would he be rescued by
And
an
if I
emergency
actually
platform?
killed one, I would take 50 damage, so that kills me. I kind of have to wait it out, and it sucks and it's slow.
The observatory was a burning hulk. Dead scientists and black feathers everywhere. The Ravens had burned the reanimate. I don't know. Let's go to the fleet and ask him.
Yes.
I'll meet you on the mountains. There's something I have to get first. But could he afford to meet her in the mountains? He'd given the Empire the location of the secret rebel base. They would need rescuing. Was it true? Was he on this adventure just to see Zenobia again? The Imperial heir was not an easy cat to see. Well, she'd ignored all his Kwanzaa gifts. And on the other paw, trying to get a date by joining a war against your intended was pretty optimistic. But on the back paw, Fortunato, yes, it sounded exactly like him. Good. I'm so glad we had this little chat, he told himself.
Do I need help? I'll get it anyways. Okay, I'm not gonna get any help. That's fine. I don't necessarily need it, and there's
A very
there's
clever
better
engineer
places to
named
get
Elon
help in
Musk
this map.
got his start making floating platforms. Not many people knew that. There were a lot of dead ravens along the side of the road. Someone had rampaged through here on a killing spree. What had Zenobia gone to get? He had a chilling feeling. He could recognize her blade work in the wounds of the dead birds. Why had she killed them? Surely her father's soldiers were no threat to her. He was sort of yanking his own chain,
That's the wrong button.
wasn't he?
Get it around that. Yeah, I can get those health drops usually. There's a bunch of crystals there and they fall down and just die. Oh, they're wrong way. I don't need that.
He reached the summit, expecting no one.
So what would I get from that? I would
But
get...
there she was, steaming, pacing. I'm gonna kill him, she said. I'm gonna kill all his ravens, and then him, and then his family, and all the eggs and tadpoles.
Why did I
Then
move this down there? It should always be up here. It's like there's empty space.
go
in
and get
that
the
corner.
Iblis stone. Do you see all these ravens I killed? So much power. Are you feeling?
Also, this opacity is wrong. That should be like that. Alright.
Demons always want blood. You really want power from a demonic rock? You want the stone, don't you? Not really. Good. I'd rather not have to kill you. He told her he loved her. That he wouldn't let the Iblis stone take her, even if he had to die for it. Well, he planned to tell her. Now didn't seem like the right time. She'd probably cool off in a bit. So he let her get in her ship and fly off. He rushed back to the Farfarer and followed her, keeping a healthy distance. Zenobia's ship was just visible through the clouds ahead. How could he reason with her? But he had to. The rebels were down for the count. No wonder. He'd betrayed the location of their base and then he'd abandoned them. And if she became Empress while she was in the grip of the Iblis stone, if she became Empress by murdering her father, she could still be a great Empress. But she could also be a nightmare Empress. She had to be stopped. There were more dead ravens along his path, some of them wounded in the back. He knew she could have easily talked her way past them, or clouded the little tiny raven brains with a spell. She was going out of her way to kill everything in her path. This wasn't Zenobia, not as he knew her. The portal was heavily guarded. It must go some place they really didn't want him to go.
You're kidding me, right? Whatever.
It was a bit windy up here.
I just hate taking damage like that for no reason.
His beloved was possessed by the spirit of a demon. That's
I
what
only
it
took the
meant to
damage
be a
because I
hero.
canceled out his
To
counter
brave the
attack
darkness
with
in
the
your loved one's
grapple
soul.
hook.
To have faith
That
there
was
was
all
still
my
good
fault.
in her. To help her out of that darkness, no matter what the cost. But what? What could he do? She'd kill him if he tried to take the Iblis stone from her. Can I borrow that?
Oh my god, I hate this camera. This like movement here is so finicky. Like, in order to dash, I have to hold my mouse at certain positions. Did he really miss? Wow, that is the most pathetic miss I've ever seen. I'm turning to a lot.
At the end of the trail of raven corpses was Zenobia. Her father was frantically rigging a strange apparatus wrapped
I must have
around
had
the
a
glowing
really good
core.
final
Don't
fight.
do it!
Or final
He
mission,
shouted.
chapter 5,
You'll
whatever.
hate yourself in the morning. Stay back! She screamed in a horrible voice he'd never heard before. It froze him in his tracks. The Emperor stared at him. Run, he told the toad, or hop. But he didn't manage to voice it, only think it. Zenobia stabbed her blade forward, and His Majesty fell dead. She began laughing hysterically. Or was she weeping? Just walk away, she laughed at him. I've no more use for you. There was something he needed to do, but he couldn't figure out what it was. So he did as he was told. As he walked away, he felt a chill in the world. The light in the sky seemed to dim. He didn't dare turn. He had a nagging feeling there was something he should have done just then. Something heroic. But he could not have taken the Iblis stone from her by force. And she would not have parted with it willingly. A cold wind blew from where she had been. But he still didn't dare turn. And then, an awful laughter filled the air. And all the torches and all the ships went out. And he realized what he should have done. But by then, it was too late to do anything. Renato stared at the book. He was still alive. Again. And still only flying away. The clouds parted over the Isles of Boreas. It was time to choose. The rebellion was in trouble. Ravens were scouting for the secret rebel base. They needed a game changer. Pieces of the Sky Ripper had surfaced. Renato knew that using it could go catastrophically wrong, but he was sure he could figure out how to use it safely. Also, a temple had risen out of empty desert. The Emperor had brought the Skyripper pieces up out of ancient burial by his obscene rituals. Could this be where the Iblis stone was hidden? Someone better get it before he does, thought Renato. On the other hand, his old friend Lapino needed rescuing. Lapino was no game changer, but could Renato really leave an old friend to the Ravens? Every child could sing verses about the Skyripper, but ancient codices held hints of other things. A stone that ate souls, a ruby that drank blood, a jewel only a righteous man could give away. Were all these things the Iblis stone? Long hidden in the buried temple. Another ancient item that was only resurfacing now. Drawn up from the deeps by the Emperor's horrific rituals. Oops, thought Renato.
Can you please, like... Alright. Like, I get a lot of
Ravens
combo
were already
XP, but
here.
holy crap.
Cawing in frustration. They were still searching for a way in. Good. And he hadn't come too late. He'd missed his old skills. He welcomed them back like it was at a reunion.
Also, I should have been leveling up. I'm gonna be short now.
What big eyes you have.
This might be slow. I'm probably gonna sound Nibblestone now. Let's see, how many do I need for that? I think 5 levels? Jesus, yeah, no, I'm not gonna have enough. My Lapino streak is gonna be slow.
How did a temple to Iblis
like
still
one-
even exist? The Transcendent Emperor had destroyed
Yeah, it's
all the
5
shrines
levels
of
for
the lost
just the
gods
one.
after exiling them. Had it been buried in that long-ago battle? Or had Iblis foreseen his
Can
fate
you, like,
and hidden it from his
know
enemies?
something? Thank you.
The Ravens at least could not get past this point.
At least I don't have to do any more
Obviously, the
level
temple
ups
builders knew how to
for the
deal with
duration
Tomb
of
Raiders.
Nibblestone. So I'll just do them either at the end or at the beginning of Lapino's Truth.
Building these platforms was so expensive, they'd run out of budget for guardrails. It was a stone of the purest blackness. It reflected no light, like a void made blood. It was the stone, eager, thirsty. That seemed tempting and terribly wrong. Zenobia was the Emperor's greatest general and a potent witch.
I'm gonna try something
But
else
they had
here.
been close once.
While I'm in the
And
Zenobia
Renato
level.
wasn't sure he really wanted to be Emperor. Why not capture the core of Skyripper instead? It was the eye of a lost god torn out by the Transcendent Emperor to power his greatest weapon. What's the core? Said the stone anxiously. As he placed the impossibly black crystal in his gauntlet, Renato had a sudden vision. Charred fields covered in dead ravens below a black sun.
Was it the time of the lost gods before the transcendent emperor? Was it the future? It whispered. Take the power. He could feel the stone's hunger for souls, its thirst for blood.
All right, I get it. This was going to be interesting. That was always a rush.
Really? Stop with the XP! Oh my god!
The ravens on Zenobia's island were no match for Renato. They screamed as the stones sucked out
So
their
much
souls.
XP, but
And with
please,
each
I
death,
want to kill him.
He felt stronger. Take the power, the stone told him.
He couldn't do worse with Zenobia than he'd done with the core, could he? Zenobia was waiting for Renato. She was alone, confident as always. Fire, dance, tips and more.
I swear to God, if I get more EXP off these
She
guys,
seemed as cocksure as he.
oh my gosh, he just doesn't
He had the
stop.
stone, and I've missed you too, love. She spotted the stone, and both got another one.
Oh, please. I want to know how that works. But I don't.
Finally, Renato caught up to her. He had never seen her scared before. At school, she'd been the determined, brave one.
Please, no, said Zenobia. Not that way.
Oh, they had been so close once. Could he really feed her soul to his demonic gem? But if he spared her, he would not get the full power of the stone. Oh, how could he be the hero he wanted to be? With a... The Nexus was beautiful. He never realized how beautiful. Everything glowed. The wind was so sweet. The sun so soft. The stones so warm. The black raven feathers. Black feathers. Suddenly, his eyes are filled with them. He's falling through smoke under a dead sun. A voice calls him home. Is this a vision? Whose? Is this the time of the lost gods? Or the future? No matter. What mattered now was killing his way to the Imperial outpost and challenging the Emperor from there. Up ahead. Don't look down, he told himself. Don't look down.
Did someone like ping a tag? Yeah. I wasn't paying attention. I probably lost like a couple seconds there. Alright, did I get more XP? No.
Renato rampaged through the Imperial outpost like a water buffalo rampaging. At the last moment, but there was only silence. The Emperor was scared, like little girl. Well, he would gather the rebel army and slaughter the Imperial fleet. Yes! Applauded the Iblistone. Tremendous. Then the Emperor would have to answer his far speaker, wouldn't he? Who are you? Asked a distant voice that sounded uncomfortably like Zenobia. What have you become? The mountains. Go to the mountains, urged another that sounded a bit like Lapino. The ruins were crawling with ravens. Probably looking for the secret base, Renato thought. But then he realized they're probably looking for me. They must be very scared of me. Well, here I am! Whispered the Iblistone.
How much XP have I
And
gotten
he
through
had
combo?
to agree with it, for once.
Because, like, I've
Who was as
gotten
good as
so
Bernardo?
many combos, and it's ridiculous how much my combo is. Like, 103 combos should never happen.
Bernardo was so happy. The stone was the best friend he'd ever had. Really, who would bury such a treasure in the desert? Come up. What did you do if one of these platforms stalled? Open, says me. The long stairs. So he was close to the rebel base. He was on fire. So far, so good. In a swirl of newly remembered knowledge, needed to focus.
Alright, so far no deaths. Pretty good.
Bernardo strode into the council. Let's do this thing. Let's make me emperor. They looked confused and nervous. Ah. Had he mentioned the Emperor thing? He meant to bring that up later. I mean, let's go win this rebellion! He waved his sword around encouragingly. They ran. Cowards. He'd stop them. He cut down a few to inspire the others. But soon, there was no one to cut down. Well then, he'd have to attack the fleet alone. More for me, he said. Unless it was the stone that said it. Traitors. Traitors, all of them. They'd run rather than following him, rather than cheering him. What should he do to the cowards? Anything he wanted to. After all, he was a true hero, the best warrior there ever was. No one could stop him now. But first, finish him. The Emperor, that is. Where was the rebel fleet? They weren't even trying an assault. They were going to miss a day in history. The downfall of this dynasty, and a new one to take its place. He didn't have to kill all the ravens. He could enslave them, and enslave the toads too. All the animals would worship him as a god, for he had once been a god. They would willingly give him their blood and their souls. And the world would change, would become familiar again. No one could beat Bernardo at hot potato.
I was hoping those guys would be like, whatever. Of course. I haven't done that one in a while.
Bernardo was glowing with dark power. Already the sun had dimmed. He could do anything, he realized. He could wrap the island safely in smoke again. He was beyond a hero. He was going to become a god again. How odd, he thought, that the Iblis Stone had nothing to say about any of this. Well, no matter. Once he killed this petty Toad Emperor, he would bring back the Black Sun. Renato had always wanted a flying carpet. This was more like a flying tabletop, but it would do.
That is very good to know, actually. That's why I have this. Okay.
He found the Emperor and the Council huddling by his ship, plotting. They
So if
saw
you
him
dash twice
and
into a
cowered
bomber, they
before him.
explode.
Back to hell, fiend.
Croaked the Emperor desperately.
In the name of the Transcendent
Emperor! Croaked the speaker. They held some arcane items he didn't recognize. He simply flexed his will and sucked their souls out of their bodies. And Iblis exulted. It is finished. And the void that had been a mere stone on a sword expanded. It stretched and ripped like a vast womb. And a gaze, black and pitiless as the sun, passed through the void into the land. And so time ended. And just like that, he was alive again, and back on the Farfarer, still. The clouds parted over the Isles of Boreas. It was time to choose. The rebellion was in trouble. Ravens were scouting for the secret rebel base. They needed a game changer. Pieces of the Sky Ripper had surfaced. Renato knew that using it could go catastrophically wrong. But he was sure he could figure out how to use it safely. Also, a temple had risen out of empty desert.
Let's see.
The Iblis
We go to
Stone was
Zenobia
hidden there.
4 times in this round.
It was a dangerous artifact. It could corrupt its user into a bloodthirsty
I wonder,
monster. Maybe he could
how
find a way to use
Zenobia
it,
compares
to take its power without surrendering to its
or
wickedness.
Zenobia
On the other
compares
hand,
to getting
his
the
old
gem.
friend Lapino needed rescuing. Lapino was no game changer,
But
but
then the
could Renato
ending
really leave
cutscenes
an
are
old
different.
friend to the
God dang
Ravens?
it, you. game sucks with its routing. I'm gonna like have to finish my project with this game and figure out what the fastest way is. Because all I did was copy. That's not good. I like swapped the
As he
truths,
set
like
foot in the island,
which ones do you get?
Renato could not help but feel a tinge of
But
guilt.
it's just like
He'd left Lapino behind.
there's still way too much.
He hoped the Mad Rabbit had somehow escaped the Ravens. He hoped they hadn't eaten him. If they had, he hoped they hadn't eaten him alive.
Like I just shouldn't
He
be
chosen
doing
the
Skyrim
Steiner.
Return this late. Now I can't
Renato
do any
never
of the
made
strats
plans
here.
that required constant vigilance. He was a hero. He didn't think too much. He
Because if
just
I get
went with
hit
his gut and hoped it all
once by
worked
these
out.
guys, I'm
The
dead.
Sky Ripper was a long shot. He'd have to devote himself to it. No side journeys, no rescuing old friends. That was against his nature. The people who had built this castle, did they even know what monstrous weapon lay hidden within the walls? The Sky Ripper could destroy anything it touched. Not so the legend.
Yeah, so I'm short 2 points.
As the Transcendent Emperor had fought the Lost Gods, thousands had died. But Renato had been through war. The only merciful war was a short one.
I'm down 2 points. Why am I down 2 points?
When Renato went to the china shop, for some reason the owner was always nervous.
I don't have a level up now. So I figure I lose
There it
time
was.
there because I don't have the
Sky
20
Ripper's
kill combo.
armature. The stuff that dreams are made of.
Mm,
Engineer's dream. How is it part of a weapon at all? He'd have to ask a
I
scientist.
have one to fight in
First, he'd get the
Zenobia.
second piece. Sky Ripper had a heart. A core that
Outpost.
had come to
I
rest on the
have
next island. Well,
3
there
fights.
was another island he
4
could
fights.
reach.
I'll get my 20
Zenobia
kill
had
combo
just
after
invaded it with her
Outpost,
father's
guaranteed.
Raven battalions.
But there's
Must
just so
be
many
encamped
fights I
there
don't have
still.
it for now.
But fighting Zenobia now, that made no sense at all. He'd already sacrificed one friend to get this armature, was it? He didn't need to hurry to face her.
And the reason
She
why I
would
have
find
this is
him.
because I threw a point so late early. I have the stupid dash perk, and I have an extra stamina. Okay, that's why.
The truth is, though, he wanted to see her, wasn't it? It had been a dozen years since Swordfu School. He'd followed every rumor about her, every scrap of news. Not that he still loved her. After all, she was his
The
enemy.
dash perk I should be
No,
getting
it
like
was solely because
the
know your enemy.
true path,
All right, maybe he should stop pretending.
because there's no
He
reason
knew
to
exactly
have
how
it now.
she felt about it. But their love affair always ended
It makes
with a tragic
some of the
death.
enemies a lot easier
Unless
to deal with, but
maybe
it's
he
not
could
worth
find a way
it.
to dodge tragedy. Surely he could, couldn't he?
6,500.
Boom.
I'll at least be at like
He couldn't do worse with Zenobia than he'd done with the core, could he?
was it? I'll at least be like at 4,000.
Renato wasn't entirely sure how he was going to capture Zenobia. She'd be expecting him. And he didn't have Lapino to cook up a clever plan. Why was it again that he hadn't got the core? Maybe because the results tended to be disastrous. These streets were familiar. He thought this school was closed now, but he had been down that street 1,000 times. He knew that pub. He knew that alley. He knew the alley behind it much too well. No wonder Zenobia had Renato slinked through Zenobia's ship, making no sound at all.
I'll have it by console. That's
Where
like
are her guards?
main fight I want it for.
That makes no sense.
If I don't have it by console, I'll be a bit
It's a
upset.
trap.
Shouted the Emperor.
I'll meet you at the outpost, and I'll bring my interrogators.
If Renato came face to face with the Emperor, maybe he could assassinate him. But maybe it would be smarter and safer to turn Zenobia against her father. You're lying. It was a short, safe landing. At least this part of the Nexus hadn't changed too much. Zenobia had been taking him to the Imperial outpost. She'd never expect him to go there by himself. Well, maybe she would. Never knew with her.
Alright, we need 160 here.
Imagine getting a horse up in one of these things. It would be cursing a blue streak. Renato knew Zenobia, and Zenobia knew him. She'd suspected a trick. Now he'd vanished. She would probably guess that was his plan all along. Perfect. Maybe she wouldn't use the Sky River. At least not without taking it to the scientists at the observatory first. Meanwhile, the Emperor would be coming to the outpost personally. This could be good. Renato was face to face with the Emperor's bodyguard. They looked very tough, but the Emperor held them back. Oh, well, that's a job well done, thought Renato. Now the fleet would be in all sorts of disarray,
990 away?
but maybe he could find her in the mountains. She always used to go to the mountains to hide from the world.
Still, that puts me in the
Maybe
fact that
he
I
could even
have...
turn her against her father. Or maybe he could reap the benefits of the chaos he had sown.
It's
It
so
was time to
stupid.
report to the Rebel Council, and then launch the attack on a divided and very confused Imperial fleet.
Because I only have a 30 combo insta-kill at the end of the council fight. And then I'll have it for ending one on chapter 5.
Renato wondered if he'd really fooled the Empire. He guessed he'd know soon enough. If the skies darkened with 1,000 dropships, then he'd know the Empire believed his map of the Rebel base's secret location. They certainly seemed to be looking for it. There were ravens everywhere. But where weren't there ravens these days?
So I get one, but I'm not getting the second one until after. I'm guaranteed it at the start of the true path, or hero path, whatever you want to call it.
Was that your shield? Maybe the Emperor would attack Zenobia. The ravens divided into two
Oh,
armies.
just kidding. I'm not gonna
would
have
slaughter
this
each other.
at all.
Then the rebellion could just show up and claim victory. The council would be overjoyed that Renato had given away all their secrets. See? It was actually very fine weather, except for the occasional shower of ravens. And no one was burning the ruins down with the mighty power of a god's eye. If the Empire believed anything he said, they certainly weren't showing it. Hey, why don't you guys fight in groups? Oh, I know. Because there's no I in team. The long stairs. So he was close to the rebel base. Everything was on fire. So far, so good.
Can I, like, do anything right here? So I just lost a whole bunch of time on this. Mostly from the kill thingy. Yeah, I'm not gonna get it until that means I'm losing time with this split too.
As he told his hilarious
Alright, I'll have
adventures
to
to the
remember
rebel
to not
council, he began to
press the
realize
route.
they weren't laughing. Just staring at him with those big bug eyes.
Zenobia let you escape?
Asked the speaker.
How do we know you're not a double agent?
Then I wouldn't tell you about her at all.
Maybe you're trying to sound like an idiot, so we don't realize how clever you are.
Croaked the speaker. No, I promise you, I really am that much of an idiot. Renato was about to say when a half-dozen Imperial ships began to bomb the base.
He's betrayed us!
Croaked the toads, and Renato decided it would be good to be somewhere else. He boarded the Farfarer and got out of there. The wind ruffled Renato's fur the wrong way. So the rebels thought he was lying too? Because a half-dozen lousy dropships that probably just tripped over the rebel base? Okay, technically he had betrayed its location, but not willingly. And he'd made up for it, hadn't he? Then something exploded. A cannon shot. The Farfarer plunged out of the clouds. The rebels had hit his ship. As the Farfarer plummeted towards the abyss, he launched himself into the sails of an Imperial ship. The Farfarer was gone. It had been a beautiful ship. And fast. It could do the Kestrel run in 12 furlongs. So the salesman had told him. He would show them. He would be the hero of the final battle. They'd know whose side he was on then. That's what it meant to be a hero. To go on fighting, even when both sides were trying to kill you. Take a leap of faith, said the inscription.
You gotta be joking. Kind of sneaky at that. Alright, well. As long as I don't die,
See?
this doesn't matter.
Rebels were fighting ravens everywhere, and not a super weapon in sight. No one was summoning giant murder birds out of the clouds. There were no locusts, no rain of fire. Something blew up nearby, and Renato decided it was not time to stop and ponder. Just as well, he liked acting much better than pondering.
You've gotta be joking, dude. Okay, I'm one hit from death now.
He'd once been a pirate captain. He used hooks to get around his ship. What was his name again?
What is this time save though?
Finally, Renato reached the Emperor's ship. And there he saw a strange sight. But the clouds parted over the Isles of Boreas. It was time to choose. The rebellion was in trouble. Ravens were scouting for the secret rebel base. They needed a game changer. Pieces of the Sky Ripper had surfaced. Renato knew that using it could go catastrophically wrong. But he was sure he could figure out how to use it safely. Also, a temple had risen out of empty desert. The Iblis stone was hidden there. It was a dangerous artifact. It could corrupt its user into a bloodthirsty monster. Maybe he could find a way to use it, to take its power without surrendering to its wickedness. And also, his old friend Lapino needed rescuing. Of course. That to his advantage. Renato finally realized that Lapino was a traitor to the cause, and maybe Renato could use that somehow. Renato couldn't quite put his paw on when he'd realized Lapino was working for the Empire. He'd never exactly seen Lapino sending coded messages to the palace, but he was sure. The rabbit had been on too many disastrous missions where he was the only survivor, or where he accidentally missed getting on the boat that went down to the abyss in flames. If Renato could prevent Lapino from getting back to the fleet with all the intelligence he'd probably gathered, it might be worth the trip. How had they come to this? They'd been on so many adventures together. Lapino had talked Renato out of
So yeah, I did save a lot of time in that last split, but I still lost a whole bunch of time from the stupid combo thing. Alright, I'll note that in my head for next run when I do it. I shouldn't be losing 30 seconds to a split. That's just silly.
But he'd always felt that the rabbit resented him. Lapino was hilarious because he was so
But the
down
run's
on
been
himself
pretty good.
and everyone else. But
I only had
behind
lost
the
like
laughs, he wasn't a happy camper.
50 seconds for like the
It was
first
his payback.
hour or
Or did
so.
the Empire have his little white tail in a vice? Nice. That could be useful.
The one thing with
Ravens
a
were landing
dash perk
everywhere
though
from
is you can
dropships.
keep your combo
You
through
better get
dashing.
moving. If they got to Lapino
That's
first,
like one
the rabbit
benefit
would
to
give the
it
Empire all the
that I do
intelligence
like.
he'd been stealing from the rebellion,
It still shouldn't
and they'd
come
probably
before
give him
the
a
20
medal.
kill.
He'd have to be
The
very
guaranteed
careful
kill.
about how he played Lapino. At the slightest hint of danger, the mad rabbit would take off like a rabbit. Lapino would betray him. The core was dangerous. Now, Renato had a fleeting idea that the two ideas went together somehow. And then it was gone again. Ah, damn ideas. They never stuck around when you needed them. Bloody and exhausted, Renato finally reached Lapino. The rabbit was practicing shuffling his favorite deck. Oh, I am. Rabbit and shout, "You're a traitor, and I'm not falling for it." But if there was one thing Renato was sure of, it was that the core of the Sky River was dangerous mostly to its user. If he could put it in the Emperor's hands, old Isengrim III might blow himself and his fleet up with it. Yes, that was it.
I guess this is the first time we go get the core. But this map is different. Like it's not the.
Right. Now, all Renato had to do was
Oh no, I
find
don't
his
get the
way
core.
through
I go
Zenobia's
see
invading
Zenobia
troops,
again.
sneak
Great.
onto her ship and into her bedroom and kidnap her without any of her dozens of guards alerting her. Then, he would rely on her love for him to convince her how evil her father was, so she'd run away with him instead of going back to her father, who was going to blow himself up. It did sound a little risky. But Renato had a feeling it would work out somehow. It always did. He was practically sure he'd find something useful in one of these things. Renato was halfway to Zenobia's encampment when Lapino showed up. He was disheveled and distraught. They jumped us. I barely got away. Oh, they got the core. Oh, it was all going according to plan, thought Renato. Now he just needed Zenobia on his side. Yes, that was even better. The Iblis Stone. Zenobia could get it. And then the Emperor would have to pursue them. Wait. No. The gem would corrupt anyone. Even her. That's it, he thought. Even Lapino. Even though Lapino was already a traitor. It would turn him against his secret master, the Emperor. He would try to make himself Emperor. And the Emperor would have to defend himself with the core. Boom. He was a super genius. This is terrible, Renato told the rabbit. If only I had gone
Oh,
for the
did I
Iblis
just like
Stone.
shrink the screen?
But now, lost in enemy territory. He handed Lapino a map. Power.
Okay, I didn't.
We can only hope the Emperor never finds it. What was that? Said Lapino.
health thing.
Alas, they had to bury him in a
Wow.
bucket.
Okay.
Actually, several buckets. Renato slinked through Zenobia's ship,
Okay then.
making no sound at all. She was curled up on her bed. An eater of souls. And with that, her eyes widened. She understood. Renato told her how he had rescued a priest whose order had been massacred, how he had slept in a burnt village. At midnight, the Emperor's victims had come to him in his dreams to tell him of the hideous eldritch rituals they'd been sacrificed in. He could still see those kittens and puppies, their wide, sad eyes, their moist noses. You can't prove that. I've got a witness at the observatory. He couldn't tell. The platform used a hybrid propulsion system, gravity and wishful thinking.
I'm gonna go for a health.
The rebellion had
Thank
started
you.
after atrocities that the Empire.
There's one more
hushed
spot
up.
for health I can go for.
Renato
Just
had
go
rescued a
trigger the
priest
fight.
whose order had been massacred for one book. He had
I just
stepped
want
in a
enough
burnt
to
village.
survive a fireball.
Dead kittens and puppies had come to tell him what the Emperor had done to them.
Okay, so I'm doing this fight. That's kind of bad because this fight's slow. Yeah, fine. I should have just like died and restarted the fight.
Don't you think I'd...
Honestly, if I am at 10 health and I hit that fight, I just should die. Try again. That fight's like, because it's so late to the game, fights are really slow.
Energy spheres.
Yeah. See, it's
Easy to dodge,
exactly
but
10
boy, do
damage,
they sting if you
and
pay
I'm pretty
attention.
sure I'm gonna hit by at least 2 of these. Thought it was 15 though. Oh, okay. Sure.
Don't be shy.
Things down there are still alive. Not sure what triggers that, but I'm losing all my time here, which kind of sucks. I really wanted to have like a decent hero path.
The observatory was a burning hulk. Dead scientists
had
and
one
black
yet.
feathers everywhere. The Ravens had taken special care. So, Renato explained his brilliant gambit.
Like I've
Sending
almost
Lapino
lost a
to get the
minute.
Iblistone, become super powerful and corrupted,
Well, no, I
provoke the Emperor
saved.
into using the core against him, thus blowing up both of them, and hopefully the fleet
I've lost
too.
like 30
Let me
seconds.
visit your council, she said, shaken. I
So
want to
far.
help. Could
But
we
in my
really
PB, I
trust her?
lost like so much more. To be fair, my chapter 1 was pretty terrible on PB, and my chapter 2 was like really impressive. Chapter 3 Chapter 3 I could have tied. Chapter 4 I can save time on, and Chapter 5 I can save a lot more time on.
What had Zenobia gone off to do? What was more important than meeting the rebel council? Had he made a mistake, sending her to the ruins? No. He knew they could trust each other. He could trust her because she never broke her word. And she could trust him because she could see right through him. Well, she'd probably be there well before him. She at least didn't have to fight her way through rainstorms of ravens. Renato wondered idly if people who had built these poles had really, really long tentacles. As he came around the bend, there was Lapino, unconscious on the side of the path. And Renato could smell a familiar, sweet, smoky scent. Who? Zenobia. It had to be. She never used a combat spell when she could use drowsy gas. That meant she had the Iblistone. What would it do to her? She hated her father now. She'd kill him for sure. The council wouldn't mind if she killed the Emperor, but murdering her father would destroy her. He had to get to whatever ledge she was on and talk her down from it.
I shouldn't have tried. Alright, all this time save comes down to the final fight. That's amazing, dude. I love it.
Everyone in the council chamber was dead. Zenobia stood shivering in the courtyard, drenched in blood. Why? He managed. They started arguing with me. I lost my temper.
My true
I wanted
path
their
is
blood.
so terrible,
Well, not me.
and I just keep doing this
The stone
over and
did.
over again.
Why did you take it from Lapino? I had a plan. You had a stupid plan, she said. I'm going to go kill my father now. No, you can't.
Like,
You'll,
this is the second time I've
just
been
take
really
his
far
place.
ahead,
you'll become worse than him.
and then just like
Get
lose it
out
all in
of
chapter
my way, or I'll kill you
chapter
too.
5, chapter whatever half this is. I mean, I guess I'll get a really good time. It's just gonna be like a 144. It might be sub 144 even, if I do this correctly, but we'll see.
The Empire had seized his ship. They'd have to take it back.
Well, I can't take any hits, but there's no health drops in this area.
He knew the known knowns, and even some of the known unknowns. But he didn't know the unknown unknowns. You dig? This was much easier than free climbing.
Okay, there is one health drop. But I didn't waste time.
And there...
I'm gonna go for it. Oh boy. Lovely. So now I can't survive a hit from...
He wished there were more pylons he could use the hook on. He was needed to construct additional pylons.
Bad fight.
Danced around the room yelling, "Oh yeah,
Another bad
oh
fight.
yeah, that's how we do it." It was something he liked to do, but only after he'd killed all the witnesses.
Alright, here we go. Final fight. I can get a 143 if I don't die. Okay, this is scary. Yeah. Fucking hell, dude. That sucks so much. I hate having like no HP for this fight. Alright, let's see if I can just do this again. I got stuck in the corner, and I shouldn't be in that corner. That's like a death trap. Alright, well that's world record. Because
But they did
he's got a
not go
145.52.
unnoticed. Scout ships lifted off, and the long lance of the
That's
Imperial
sub
flagship.
144, but
Renato
still.
turned downwind to gain speed. The Raven ships could pursue.
The world record time is misconceiving because I don't even know how he calculates it. Like, who does that? Like Harvard don't. Or Harvard, whatever. Like, whatever.
Him. They had done it. Through luck and through love, they had won the war. Avalon, here we come, he said as he held her arms wide in the prow of the boat and let her feel its speed. Maybe the real Avalon is wherever we're together, she said. And so, after a bit of an argument, Reynardo and Zenobia went to one of the two Avalons. The one shrouded in mists, or the one in their hearts. But which one they went to, I'll never tell. He'd done it. He'd forged his own destiny. Well, he hadn't actually done it. But he knew what he would do. Reynardo smiled at the book. He practically wanted to kiss it. The kid's sacrifice hadn't been
Still,
in
I
vain.
lost so much
He'd
time.
saved the book and saved the world. Reynardo owed him and his mother so much.
Like, for reference,
Reynardo lowered the mainsail and let
my
the Farfarer
PB
shoot
lost
forward in the breeze.
a minute 30.
Second star to the right, and
Two
straight
of the
on
old
till
segments.
morning. This time, he would win.
And I had gone. Here, I'll go get the. I'd lost 2 minutes and 40 seconds in the final split. And I had saved a total of a minute. So yeah, basically my run here, I saved this minute in chapter 1, I lost it all. And that's basically from having a better... Like, my chapters 2 through 4 were all gold, apparently. And this one, I just lost time, but I guess I golded it, so... Hey, that's pretty good. And then, yeah, I can still save like a minute on this last split. So I can save 2 minutes in Hero Path, still. Death. Don't know why I lost so much time. Alright, so I can just like save minuscule time all over the place, but I can save 2 minutes on Hero Path if I just don't be stupid. But yeah. I'm going to submit this as this time and just yell it hard. Or in HAVRD. Whatever. Alright. Well, I'm gonna highlight this and I don't know if I'll do that run, it's almost 3. I could. Like, these runs, they're not too... They don't like make me want to just grind it out. It's like, okay, I have to be very careful, like how I do my run.